Hello and welcome to Lightworks. This tutorial is part 2 in the series looking at the new colour correction and blend presets in Lightworks. Okay, let's take a look at working on another shot. Here I've got this rather flat and dull image of the girl with the sky and the countryside behind her. Using the blend mode and gradient, I'd like to add an effect that turns the picture into something like this. Here we've got a couple of bands of colour through the sky. The clouds are being picked out a little bit more. There's this nice kind of halo of focus in the middle of the picture. So let's take a look how to achieve that. Back to the regular image, we're going to apply the effect, right click on the clip to our colour presets and go straight with colour correction and gradient blend number 1. So let's get set up. First of all, from the gradient, let's pull out that central white zone so there's no range to the centre of the radial gradient. This means that in the area where the white was, our blend mode is now processing directly over black. Next, I'm going to switch my blend mode and use multiply. And the picture instantly changes. This gradient here is our black zone on the extent here. So I pull that away, push it back in. That's going to form the core of our vignette. So I'm going to push that in at about 3/4 there and leave the centre overall of the picture just a little bit brighter, help focus the viewer to the centre. Just want to check that blend foreground opacity level, so let's just pull it all back. Push that back in, so that cloud detail appearing. I'm going to go to about 86%. Let's do some work on the colour correction layer. So first of all, I want to work on my picture contrast. So I'm going to take away all the colour by removing saturation to 0. To do this, you might find it helpful to have the Y waveform vector scope open. Just right click on your edit monitor, choose video analysis. Using the scope will allow you to see the black information and the white information in the picture. Right, first of all, I'm just going to increase the gamma a little bit. Contrast can come down a little bit to about there. A little bit too bright, I'll bring that down to about -10. I'm going to lift the gain up to about there. Okay, let's put the colour back in the picture. Let's do a bit of work on the colour wheels. In the highlight region, I want to push in some warmth. You see this get picked up in the clouds. I'm going to push towards red and go with the value about there. Just going to increase that amount there to about 103. We'll do the same with the mid-tones. We'll push in some red, warm things up, go into about there. I'm going to drop this down just a little to about 90%. And in the shadows, I'm going to cool down the shadows here in the black regions. I want to cool that down. I want to push in some blue. I'll go with something like that. You see the darker areas. I've just picked up a touch of blue in them. Right, if we just switch off the gradient, the blend and the correction, we can see how far we've come already. We're going to jump over to the RGB Colour tab now. We're going to lift up the red gamma just to about there, green just a touch, drop down the blue gamma to about there. On the contrasts, push the red contrast quite hard, green contrast, touch of that. The blue contrast, we're going to go the other way, and that's that. I'm going to lift up the red brightness, and in the gain channels, I'm going to bring up the red, I'm going to bring down the greens, and the blues, bring them down at -7. Next tab, hue saturation value. I'm just going to increase saturation bias a little bit. On the saturation scale, I'm going to drop this down to about -13. Again, the impact of these sliders can be quite subtle, so take your time when you're working with them. And the scale value, about +14 is good for that. So we're starting to build up this nice kind of halo effect around the centre of the picture. What I'd like to do is add another band of colour. I'm going to swap this black of the gradient for another colour. Use something like a purple or a deep blue to complement blues and reds through the sky. To do that, I'm going to go to colour number 2, which is the outside of the gradient, hit the colour picker, and I'm just going to push in some blue to replace that black. Give it sort of a lens filter styling, go to about 50% with that. Just double check the extent value, might want to back that off a bit. I'm going to go with about 50% now. I think the mid-tones are looking a bit dark in the picture now, so I want to lift them up a little bit. So to do that, I'm just going to add a point at the top and the bottom of this luminance curve to make sure that this line stays as straight as possible through these highlight and low light regions for the moment. Click a point in the middle and just push. Just lift up that mid luminance a touch. It's a bit nicer. I'm going to bring some detail back into this burnt out area, and that's related to this highlight area of the luminance curve. So if I had a point quite high up here, just pull down. And that's just brought back in a bit of detail around these clouds as well. Let's give it a quick run through. And there we go, that's done. We hope that's helpful and you enjoy the new presets. Don't forget to save them as a template and build up your library of colour looks. Thanks for watching.